Every single project, no matter how big or small, is always just a few steps away from total chaos. So today, we're going to dive into the one thing that can either send it right over the edge or steer it safely to success. All right, let's just get right to it. I want you to take a second and think, what do you think is the number one, absolute top reason that most projects completely fall apart? Is it the budget? Running out of money? That's a classic for sure, but nope, that's not it. Okay, well, what about some kind of huge tech meltdown? Happens all the time, right? But that's not the real killer either. The real culprit, the thing that quietly sinks more projects than anything else, is just a simple breakdown in how we talk to each other. It all comes down to human communication. So the real question is, how do we fix it? Well, for that, we're going to turn to the gold standard, the PMBOK guide. The latest edition gives us this amazing roadmap. And it's not about a bunch of rigid, stuffy rules. It's about flexible principles that help us weave strong, resilient communication right into the DNA of our projects. So let's start with the most important part, the why. Why does this all matter so much? Because it's about way more than just sending emails or filling out status reports. It's about setting up the fundamental principles that actually connect people. And to really get our heads around this, I want you to think of communication as the nervous system of your project, right? It's this invisible network that sends all the vital signals, it coordinates every single move, and it lets the entire project, the entire body, sense what's going on and react to it. And right here, the PMBOK guide gives us a really powerful idea. It's not about just talking at people. The keyword is proactively. We have to engage them. And that completely shifts our job from just giving updates to strategically and intentionally building relationships. And this is how you actually do it. This isn't guesswork. It's a real process. First, you figure out who's even involved. Then you dig in and analyze what they actually need and how much influence they have. From there, you prioritize your effort. You engage with them like real partners, and, this is crucial, you keep monitoring to see if it's actually working. It's a living cycle, not a one-and-done checklist. Now, the other side of this why coin is all about what happens inside the team. That project nervous system we talked about, it's not going to work if the core team environment is toxic. So things like setting clear ground rules, making sure everyone knows who's responsible for what, and actually modeling transparency and respect, these aren't just feel-good HR terms. They are absolutely essential for building the trust you need for information to flow freely. Okay, so we've got our why. We understand the principles. Now let's get into the what, the specific areas, or what the PMBOK guide calls performance domains, where that nervous system really gets to work. And this is a really big deal in the 7th edition. We're not thinking in terms of separate, siloed knowledge areas anymore. Instead, we've got these interconnected performance domains. Think of them like the vital organs of the project, and our communication nervous system is what connects them all. You make a change in one, and you can bet it's going to affect all the others. Now, even though communication touches everything, these 3 domains are really the heavy hitters. The stakeholder domain is all about your external communication. The team domain is your internal world of collaboration. And the planning domain, well, that's where you actually sit down and design how it's all supposed to work together. And here's the main takeaway from that. Great communication is never an accident. It is always an act of deliberate, intentional design. Planning is what forces you to answer these basic questions for every single person involved. Who needs what, why, when, and how? You answer those, and nobody gets left in the dark, and nobody gets buried in useless noise. So that brings us to the really practical stuff, the how. We know why it's important, we know what areas to focus on, so now let's open up the toolbox and look at the actual tools you can use. The PMBOK guide breaks it down into 3 basic methods. You've got push, which is you sending information out, like an email blast. You've got pull, where you make info available for people to go get themselves, like on a shared server. But interactive, that's where the magic really happens. That's the two-way, real-time conversation that actually builds consensus and solves tough problems. And we can slice this another way, too. You have to think about whether your communication should be formal or informal, written or verbal. A quick informal text is perfect for a simple heads up, but a big project milestone, that's probably going to require a formal written report. It's all about picking the right tool for that specific job. But look, just collecting and blasting out information is only half the job. How do you actually present it so that people can understand it and, more importantly, use it? Here are two really powerful but totally different ways to do that. On one hand, you've got the formal dashboard, perfect for giving executives that high-level, data-rich snapshot they need. But on the other hand, you have an informal information radiator, something like a big physical board in the team room. It's low-tech, high-touch, and it gives everyone that constant shared visibility that keeps the team in sync every single day. We have covered a lot of ground, the why, the what, and the how. So let's bring it all home and talk about the final goal. What is all of this work for? Our guiding principles, our focus on the right domains, and all those tools in our toolkit, they aren't just separate ideas to memorize. They're all parts of a system, and they are all driving toward one single, unified goal. And that goal is incredibly simple. It's all about delivering value. We don't communicate just to check a box or report on status. We communicate to make sure the project is always aligned with why it was started in the first place. Every single conversation and every single report should be helping the team deliver the outcome that matters. And that's where we'll wrap up. I want to leave you with the challenge. Based on everything we've just talked about, what is one single conversation you can go have tomorrow that will make your project's nervous system just a little bit stronger and get you one step closer to delivering real, meaningful value?